He will join us shortly, but Dr. Collins Ajiman is a psychologist. He will join us now online, and then we will get into a conversation with him on the back of the documentary that Godwin Asiriba brought to us. Folks are scavenging now the most dangerous parts of Accra and other places of the country just to make ends meet. And Doc, thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning. How are you doing?
I am very well. How are you too, my brother?
I am greater than Accra, Doc. Good to have you here. Godwin Asiriba is also joining us.
Happy to know you are greater than Accra.
Doc, we know where we meet online, so
I know.
we will be fine. Doc, Godwin Asiriba, one of our journalists here, has done a compelling documentary that details how people are trying to take their destinies into their own hands, trying to find jobs because the regime, the system, and the enabling environment is simply not there for them to be able to find those jobs. So they are doing menial jobs, they are working in gutters in the big outdoor, trying to scavenge stuff just to go and either weigh them as aluminium or copper, all manner of sorts. What do you think of such a phenomenon that's becoming very, very common and popular these days?
Right, Johnny, thank you very much, you and your team, your other colleague, for that documentary that they have done. Before I specifically make my comments on these current developments, I want to say on record that Ghanaians, from the youngest person to the oldest person, Ghanaians are very, very resilient. Ghanaians are very, very resilient.
Right.
And I repeat, all Ghanaians are very, very resilient. In the midst of the harsh economic conditions, Ghanaians are still democratic in terms of options to survive. Businessmen and women have been very resilient, still journeying through the challenges that we may have been saddled with. The young ones, majority of our population, the youth, have been resilient because in most cases, if you look at research, the more your youth, if it doesn't commensurate with the available work options, job options, one would have expected that there will be increased social vices. The security of the country may be affected somehow. But I must say that has not been the situation when you look at Ghana. Now, one thing that I would want to say from the documentary, those who genuinely go their way out just to be able to survive and so would want to scavenge, being it aluminium. What I have even seen, even in University of Ghana and its environs, East Legon and its environs, they have to be plastic bottles, sachet water, rubbers and water.
Right.
Some, it could even be cardboard papers. Some, it could be plywood, pieces of wood. For me, if people are doing these things genuinely, it is a means of survival, and they are also helping our environment. Now, the opposite and a bit of disturbing aspect, someone who may have gone through some skill set training. Remember now, we have Tertiary and Vocational Education Commission. The goal is once it has become a commission, there should be increased focus when it comes to skill sets. Those who may use their hands, their minds, and then actually activate a skill that they have learned. Imagine we have these ones who have gone through informal training, mechanics, carpenters, and what have you. And these ones are quitting the skill set they may have learned 2-3 years. And now scavenging, then there is a problem. So what happened to their 2-3 years of investment of learning a skill from a master? How do we support these ones so that they can also contribute to the economy, the society, in one way or the other, the way they have learned? If this is the situation, then we have a problem on our hands. But in the case of those who do not have anything, but go their way out to be able to survive, activate their resiliency, to be able to do something legal, to be able to survive, then we commend these ones. But that said, there are other hygienic implications and other consequences we may have to look at.
I said, well, let me bring you in at this point. When you spoke with the individuals engaged in these odd jobs, what was their motivation? What did you learn?
So it was as though most of them had aspirations, obviously, for every individual. I mean, you live towards having some dreams that you want to achieve, but it's like they've had it up to a certain level where they have to travel all the way to the capital to seek for greener pastures. But, you know, most of them come in here without having relatives, or they do not even know anyone. So they just come in here and then they appear to be on the street, adding up to the street families that continue to build up, especially around the Kwame Nkrumah circle. So they come in trying to search for jobs, and whilst they are in the process trying to do that, it looks as though there are no jobs for them. So the only thing they can rely on is do odd jobs. And one of the ones that I highlighted is those who go inside those drains. And you know how the Odo drain is. It comes with a very strong stench, a heady smell that there for like a number of minutes or hours, you might even fall sick. And it's really heartbreaking to see them, you know, having to put their hands mashed through the sun and everything that is stuck into that particular area just to be able to come up with those crafts to sell, to earn a living.
Doc, again, this is the stark reality. Government after government has said that we're going to create the enabling environment for young people to be able to entrepreneur. Government says we're going to create the jobs for them. At the last check in 2020, the NDC said they were going to create 1 million jobs in 4 years. The NPP said we're going to have Youth Bank, later metamorphosed into Youth Start, 1 million jobs in 3 years or so. The narrative seems to be more of sloganeering rather than actually giving the people what they need, which are the jobs. If you look at our job unemployment rate, more than 13% of our active society are jobless. That is a security risk, yes?
I totally agree with you that potentially can risk the security of our country. But you see, Johnny, let me be constructive here. I have always not loved it when we are able to chronicle the challenges over and over and over without suggesting the constructive way forward. So as a researcher, practitioner, and a human capital consultant, let me be constructive here. What should we do right? Now, let me start with even graduates who are unemployed. Just as we have what we call legal aid, I have taught management of SMEs at the university level for many years. I have supported several small-scale businesses and what have you. Just as we have what we call legal aid, this is a suggestion to the respective ministries and agencies in charge of youth empowerment, NGOs, and what have you. I think it's about time, looking at especially those who have gone to tertiary education, we set up what I call consultancy aid. By this consultancy aid, the governments, the relevant agencies, YPA and what have you, should negotiate with all the tertiary institutions scattered around Ghana. Then we should invite some personalities, some expertise, financial colleagues, SME colleagues, psychologists, and those who can help these young ones who want to set up a business. Now we can select from a pool of these from all the tertiary institutions, region by region. Then we have these standby teams there. Now, with this consultancy aid, those who have finished university wanting to do a small business, they may not have the money to go to a financial expert to train them. They may not have money to go to a business psychologist who will help strengthen them what it takes to start a business. They may not have the knowledge in terms of marketing research. They may not have the knowledge in terms of where to start from, where do you go, how do you register a business, and what have you. If we are able to port these expertise from all the regions, all tertiary institutions, and constitute them as members of the consultancy aid, they'll be able to support individuals who have completed schools from these regions, and region by region, we'll be able to support these ones, scale them up, give them free consulting support, business setup support. That is just one way targeting, especially the higher level educational colleges. Now let's come to TVET,
right,
and even those who have gone to secondary school with technical knowledge and what have you. We have a vast stretch of land on our main highways in cities and towns. Can we work with the municipal assemblies? All municipal assemblies to come out with some locations, some for washing days, some for mechanic shops, such that we will have people who run these mechanic shops engage some of these people who have these skills to work and be paid for, perhaps on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. Can we dot these as strategic places well planned to support these young ones and also support revenue generation, region by region, municipal assembly by municipal assembly, district by district? That is another way forward. And I think, like you said, we always spend more time putting the proposals together. Committees will be sitting over and over and over. We end up spending so much money for some of these youth empowerment programs with the paperwork rather than activating these things. And I think it's about time we walk the talk rather than talking too much.
Doc, I understand you have a meeting. I have to let you go. But before you go, the young person listening to you now who is unable to access credit from the bank, who is unable to get help from family because they are themselves cash-strapped, who has an idea, who wants to start something small to fend for themselves, and they are in a certain psychological prison, if you will. How do they liberate themselves, first of all, from that prison to even start thinking beyond the four walls of wherever they call their home, to be able to be independent, to fend for themselves?
First of all, I want to commend all young ones who every day will wake up, think of what can I do legal to survive for today. So it's praise I'm heaping on the many Ghanaian youth who go their way out to legally survive each day. And I think such a commendation will embolden them not to give up in life. And that is the most important thing that we need to acknowledge. Secondly, there is always a way out. We just need to explore what other options are there. And so, Johnny, your platform is big enough to encourage all these young ones to reach out. We have NGOs, we have other government-related agencies who are aggregating people to come forward so they could support them this way. I am very much aware funders like MasterCard Foundation are liaising with a number of NGOs and helpful agencies to empower the youth. Johnny, perhaps you can reach out to MasterCard Foundation and some of these NGOs. Let's find out what some of these NGOs are doing, and then we can begin to recommend those with skill sets or those with the readiness of heart and mind to actually get something legal doing to survive. And then we'll be able to direct these ones. I remember when I used to be a patron of a particular club called Natural Flames.
Right.
What this particular association was doing, people with just natural talent, those who could do painting, those who could just engage in photography, those who knew how to sew. And we brought all these people together, got people to engage them. We got support, some with machines, some with cameras and what have you. And indeed, we were able to help a number of these people. And I'm very excited. Some who are now doing security jobs and what have you have stopped, and now they are working for themselves. So I think we can have a conversation, a broader conversation that will bring minds together. We reflect and see pragmatic ways all of us will be able to empower the youth. We can't leave this only on the government. Now, I think AGRIC is a beautiful endeavor. We have a lot of stretch of land between, say, Accra, Suhum, and Nsawam. What can we do such that formally, as an agency is leading the way, cultivating one produce or the other, and then we engage these ones to learn the skill of what? Doing AGRIC, and they can get paid. The plantation arrangement as it was in the 70s and 80s. I think if we do this, we'll be able to make a way out for these young ones.
Doctor, thank you very much indeed for your time, and I wish you all the best for your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much to joining.
As Dr. Collins Agyeman there, he's a psychologist joining us with some psychological thoughts. Godwin, I still have you on Zoom. When you finished collecting the visuals and speaking with those individuals, I'm sure that the chills went down your spine. But what did you leave that location with?
Absolutely. I think one thing that really caught my attention when I went there was that the fact that they are picking these used bottles to sell is a business or something that we can really pay attention to. Let's say if they are well protected or taking through some sort of training, putting on some safety gears to be able to, do the job in a healthy way, they will be able to, earn much, because when these people go there to pick all these used items and then they sell it to the scrap dealers, the recyclables to the scrap dealers, they are the ones who actually, sell them on at a very higher pace. So let's say you can pick a sack of used bottles and then you sell it for like 15 cedis after going through those drains, using your bare hands, putting yourself at risk, smelling all sort of things, going there to sell, and then you get like 15 cedis. That is not enough, because let's say you are eating from that daily, you cannot even use that to buy gloves, because at the end, your eating is supposed to be sorted, bathing is supposed to be sorted, using the public toilet and all of that. Those are some of the basic social amenities that these people access. So if you earn like 15 cedis for picking all of that, it is not enough. So if there can be an initiative where an attention can be given to these people, not only when it comes to their protection, but how they can be able to sell these items to earn enough just to be able to, earn a proper living. Because after all of that, when the sun comes down, they all end up at the Kwame Nkrumah circle. And I'm sure when you use that particular stretch frequently, somewhere around, let's say 7, you find a number of the street families who are at the overpass at the Odo, just at the, passing the night, battling mosquito bites and opening themselves to risk and all of that. And surprisingly, even when they earn that little money and they spend the night there, you still have some people who come in there to attack them. So it's like, you don't earn much, your life is still at risk, and a whole lot of things. So if some sort of attention can be, given to those people to, aid them do their job and do it well to earn something little to make their lives better, it will be okay.
Godwin Asediba, thank you very much indeed. We had to drag you through the morning, but it's part of the work. Thank you very much for speaking to us. And that's my colleague Godwin Asediba there on Zoom, joining us with all the details. Sunrise. It's sad, 52 minutes after 8 on 3FM 92.7. You have a thought, William?
Yeah, the documentary spoke about all jobs, but I see a huge potential in what they're doing, because even when we were growing up, there was this business going on where we used to call them Koliba. where they come from house to house, pick scrap, pick bottles. And when there were no plastic bottles for soft drinks, we had to recycle the bottles. So it is how they do it that is a problem. I mean, all over the world, there's recycling business booming. We have smelters that are rebranding or refurbishing metal, items. So these gentlemen who are scavengers are just the foot soldiers of the smelters. So what they are doing is basically something that already exists. And if you go to places like Brazil and some part of Latin America, that is huge business. What they need is direction. I was very sad to hear one of them saying that he's making money and all that he uses the money for was on cocaine. He even mentioned the kind of drug that he does. So if we have some direction for them, for me, it is not an odd job. It is just that the way they go about it. If we as even residents, citizens, we
collecting things from gutters is not an odd job.
What I'm saying is the collection of the items from the gutter. There's even the clothing you wear, how you protect yourself. We have clothing that you can wear that will not expose you to too much danger. As the expert in the video said, when they leave, what water do they even use to clean themselves? Facilities. So if as a country we recognize that this is a business and people go to their aid, at the end of the day, a lot of people, even sewage, people go into sewage septic tanks to clean. It's just how the system has developed to a point where they have the right clothing. So I'm saying that this scavenging job is something that already exists, and it's a big business. Scrap business is big business. Whether you're collecting metal, bottles, whatever item. Now the world is going towards recycling, so they should see themselves as people who can move from the so-called odd jobs to big businesses by getting the right training. So maybe if anybody is listening and they are in that space, they call them SHEP, safety, health, environment, and the last one I don't remember. If they are listening and they can gather, they know where they are now. I mean, along the dam sites, along the drainages and all that. If they can go, give them some training, give them some equipment, and then direct them as to how to keep themselves safe from, if you like, germs and other things that can affect their lives. And those who are getting just some money for drugs, he said, no. I mean, you can't just say on national TV that you are doing that just because you want. Those who are genuinely doing it for survival, we encourage them. Those who have issues with drugs, we also encourage them to leave, and then encourage, because scavenging, for me, is big business. It's been going on for years. People even come into residential areas, knock on doors and collect these items that we don't use. And hoarding is not something that we should also encourage in our home. So if you have these scrap metals, use fridges, fans, whatever metals, people are buying them and then using them for iron rods and all those kind of things. So it's an industry that once it's come up in the media, those who are listening have the wherewithal to help these young men and women in some cases. We develop a new job, because as it is, we all know that employment is a very tight thing in this country now. So if we are going to describe them as odd job and stay there, we are going to miss out, because if you do the research, it's a huge business. Smeltering, refabrication, recycling, and these are the scavengers who are also getting the scrap for the factories, if you like. Yeah.
It's 56 minutes after 8 on 3FM 92.7, and I want to advertise for you a nation at an economic crossroad.